Today, the I-Team learned a judge will decide whether a man sitting in prison for 2 decades will get a new trial. Investigators reopened the 1985 case of a husband and wife murdered inside a Camden County church after new DNA evidence was uncovered. I-Team investigator Zach Lashway examines the evidence that could prove this man's innocence.
On the south side of Highway 17 in Waverly, Georgia, sits Rising Daughter Baptist Church. It was here during Bible study in 1985. Deacon Harold Swain and his wife Thelma were gunned down in front of fellow worshipers.
I didn't really look at him.
This witness, 35 years later, is still afraid to speak publicly.
I know he was a white guy.
One of at least 9 people inside the church.
And he had blonde-looking hair to me.
That Monday evening,
Pow, pow, pow.
the police report detailing what happened says a man came to the church asking to speak with Deacon Swain.
And Mr. Harold got up and said, wonder what he want with me.
The report states Swain met the suspect at the entrance of the church.
And then we heard a little scuffling out there. And then next thing we heard the gun.
News4Jax has covered this story since 1985.
And before I could get the car door open, I heard the shots. 4 shots.
The gunman killed Thelma as she ran to help her husband. This is the vestibule where the Swains were shot and killed. The women inside the sanctuary who witnessed the murders ran for their lives into the pastor's headquarters.
I just don't want to believe that it really happened. It's just one of those things you see happen, but you still yet just don't want to believe it happened. But it happened.
The night of the murders, the phone line to the church was cut.
And we said, we can't stay in this church all night. We thought he was going to come get us. We sneaked out the side door. We was going to run through the cemetery to try to get help. Well, I guess that was my mind probably playing, I don't know. Looked like we just heard footsteps, you know, people walking on leaves or something, I don't know. So we wasn't able to run out to get help. So we ran back in.
This witness is one of only a few people still alive who saw the murders.
Yes, I was scared for a long time.
It's hurtful when you walk in there, you know, and I could just imagine him seeing him laying down there on the floor, you know. And so I think about it all the time. It never leaves my mind, you know.
Investigators found shell casings, shirt buttons, a severed phone line, and eyeglasses with 3 hairs belonging to a white person at the crime scene. Sketches led to hundreds of potential suspects investigated by the state throughout an 18-year period. 1 year after the murders, Eric Spar was arrested. Spar's former father-in-law, Frank Head, shared with investigators a recording of Spar bragging he killed 2 people in a church. Spar's ex-wife, Emily Head, identified the glasses found at the church and stated that they looked like the ones Mr. Spar had, according to court records. But investigators did not find any other physical evidence connecting Spar to the crime and eventually let him go.
Very violent.
I spoke to Rhonda Tyson, Spar's second ex-wife. Did he ever say he killed them?
Yes. He said on more than one occasion in his violent rages that I'll kill you like I killed those N-word in Camden County.
Enter Dennis Perry. In 2000, 15 years after the murders, police arrested him based on testimony from a single tipster who happened to be the mother of Perry's ex-girlfriend. Court documents show the chief investigators during the first several years of the investigation confirmed and documented Perry's alibi. He was at work in the Atlanta area on the day of the murders and could not have made it to Waverly in time to be present at the crime scene. An eye exam determined Perry had 20/20 vision in each eye. DNA evidence collected from the hairs found on the glasses had excluded Perry as a contributor.
And this DNA did not put Dennis there.
Suzanne Baugh is Perry's cousin.
It just blew my mind. I mean, I started crying. He had an alibi.
Being married to Dennis, to me, has been life fulfilled.
Has he ever said to you, I did not do this?
Sure he has. I mean, he really didn't have to say that. I knew he didn't do it.
A jury convicted Perry in 2003. A judge sentenced him to life in prison. Since Perry's conviction, the Georgia Innocence Project and attorneys representing Perry discovered the tipster who told investigators Perry killed the Swains was paid $12,000 for her role in the prosecution. In February, Eric Sparr's mother voluntarily gave a DNA sample to Georgia Innocence Project investigators. The DNA was compared to hairs found on the eyeglasses at the scene more than 35 years ago. It was a match. A lab concluded the hairs could have only come from less than 0.5% of the U.S. population, and Sparr was in that grouping. Last month, attorneys for Dennis Perry filed a motion asking for a new trial based on that DNA evidence pointing to Eric Sparr.
Cold chills. Even today.
We went to Sparr's house in Waynesville, Georgia. No one answered. Behind that quiet and quaint white church rests the Swains.
A lot of tears were shed.
Buried just feet away from a mystery and a tragedy that's never been fully resolved. Again, just this afternoon, the I-Team confirmed a judge will hear about the recently uncovered DNA evidence in July and decide whether Dennis Perry should get a new trial. The evidence is outlined in this motion that's 24 pages. Kent?
Okay. The chain of events pretty incredible here, and certainly more questions, I think, than answers that come out of it. So, Zach, I understand that you reached out to Perry's family tonight. What did they say to you?
Yes, I spoke with them on the phone today. As you might imagine, they were emotional and excited. And they issued this statement saying, quote, "We are so incredibly happy with the recent developments, but it's been 20 years. It's time for Dennis to come home and for the Swains to get justice." And we, of course, will continue to follow this developing story and bring you the latest on air and online at news4jax.com. Kent?
All right, thank you, Zach.